Hi, welcome to Don't Quote Us, and today we're going to be talking about some things related to video games and what's going on here in the beginning of February of 2019. My name is Jeremy.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Chad.
And so first thing we're going to talk about is what are we currently playing. There's been a lot of games, and we did a video a little ways back, but we haven't talked about it recently, so figure just go over what we're playing, and figure start with you, Steve.
I actually did pick up Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It was on sale, and now I understand why everybody has enjoyed it so much. I will also say, for people who are absolutely Assassin's Creed since the beginning fans, I can understand why you may not like the newer iterations of them, but I do think it's a step in the right direction. They have evolved it considerably, and I was actually talking to Chad before the video. If you ever played the game Rise for Xbox One, I think this is actually a very big spiritual successor, even though it has no relation, nothing at all. But again, it does make you feel like an overall badass, and I think those are what the games should make you feel. I don't feel like an assassin by any means, but that's not a bad thing either. I think the game really moves it in the right direction, so I'm happy thus far. I also know that I have not seen probably 80% of the game, and I'm hours into this, so that's what I've been playing so far. It gives it 2 thumbs up. I totally understand why it's getting such high ratings.
Is it different than the number? So I mostly watched my wife play the second series, or the trilogy of 2, I guess it is, or whatever. Is it like those, or not really?
I mean, you're gonna still get the third person perspective and everything, but you're not like, I want to say most of the Assassin's Creed, don't get me wrong, because there's so many of them, you always had like the hidden blade. You have no hidden blade, you're straight, you're a swordsman.
Da Vinci's not there, or
no, you're not getting anything fun like that. Again, that's the reason why you don't feel like an assassin. You're not going to necessarily blend into crowds. Even the climbing dynamic doesn't feel the same as it did in like Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed 3. And I mean, I played 1 and I totally agree. I think 2 they made it better.
Okay.
Again, I don't feel necessarily like an assassin. It doesn't feel the same way, and you wouldn't see what you saw with your wife way back when. I think you're gonna totally, from an outside perspective, enjoy what you're seeing, but it's totally different. So
that series though has evolved dramatically since the original 4 or 5 games, the Desmond cycle.
Okay. And I want to say those games came out in 05 or 06. Again, don't quote us, but
and the original ones that the Desmond cycle went up through 2012, which was for a very specific reason within the storyline. So they wanted that last one out to be out before the end of 2012.
Oh, I remember that whole date thing. Yeah.
Yep.
So Chad, what are you playing?
Well, first thing, I'm playing through Breath of the Wild again. I started another account on my Switch so I could have a completely fresh play.
I hate that it doesn't let you make multiple save files under the same person. Why not?
I do agree. But complete fresh playthrough on that. I've just gotten done hitting all the towers to unveil the entire map of Hyrule. And aside from that, I am still playing through Tales of Vesperia on a definitive edition on the Switch, which I love. I'm in my 3rd playthrough on that. So I tend to play through games multiple times.
You don't say.
I have the time to do that.
I was going to say, he's got the most time out of the 3 of us, I'd say. I think me plus Steve is less than Chad.
You have the least, and I'm closer to... I feel like I'm closer to Chad with the amount of free time I have versus us being closer in terms of the amount of free time.
I also don't sleep much.
And I love my sleep, so...
I just get what I can. But no, that's good.
That's it right now.
Are you going for speed on it? Are you trying to do anything different? Like trying to do the temples, or what are they called? The beasts in a different order?
What beast did you...
Are you going right for the castle?
Actually, for Breath of the Wild, I started off with the very first one in the...
Water?
No, I went for the air one first because I wanted a Rivali's Gale.
Oh, that thing is the most useful. Yes, if you're going to a beast... The Gale.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I had to do a little bit of prep work for it. I needed to get some cold-resistant gear first, so I had to make sure I got the warm doublet on the plateau.
Yeah.
I planned to head for that, because I missed that, actually, my first playthrough. I did not even know about the warm doublet.
Oh, yeah, when you see the old man the second time? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did didn't know because there's a couple ways you can get it.
Yep.
And I missed all of that my first playthrough. So this time it was one of the first things I went and got. And then as soon as I was done, straight for Rivali. And now that I've got Rivali's Gale, exploration's so much easier.
Is Rivali a copy of Falco? Because he has that same attitude,
He looks
doesn't he?
but
and
he looks
the way
like
he talks,
him too.
he's condescending, insulting.
Sure,
I'm
but
the best.
they were also looking, of course, in this one to add a sort of another race in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we've had the Gerudo, we've had the
Zora.
Gorons, we have had the Zora, and they wanted to add another race in here, so they went with the bird race, and it's a Nintendo
But
IP.
they were in Wind
so
Waker. There was a bird race in the Wind Waker.
I know that there were ones.
Well, they weren't
on
as
the,
bird-like. They were,
I knew that there were some bird-like ones in the DS games that were based off of Wind Waker, but I don't remember them in the actual.
Yeah, you see
Wind
the
Waker
little
game
girl in Wind
itself.
Waker from that tower thing.
Well, then that would make sense because they've said that this one is supposed to be that Breath of the Wild is supposed to combine all of the timelines, which they haven't fully explained and may never do that. But okay.
Well,
But they said it.
They said it.
absolutely did.
Actually, they changed it on their website recently. I was just reading the Japanese website for Zelda has it at the bottom, but not connected to any of the existing ones. So they said as games come out, they revise the timeline,
Sure.
and right now they have it at the end, but they don't have any direct connection to if all three combined. They just have it down at the bottom. So, we'll see.
Jeremy, what are you playing?
I actually just got Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom.
How is that? Because we've been talking about
I just
that
got
for a
it
while.
yesterday from Best Buy, and I played it a ton yesterday, and I played it a ton today. It's fun as heck. It is definitely a Metroidvania. Definitely a game where as you're gaining the different powers, you can proceed in the game and find different secrets and go different ways. There's a lot of finding things, hidden things, which I love that.
Okay.
You're gaining, basically you're a boy, your uncle's out of control, he's transforming everybody into different beasts, and you're trying to stop him, and you get transformed, and as you go on, you get other transformations. But what you're doing is you're able to use these 5 different beast forms you have, and you need to figure out which ones do I need to be when and switch between them. And even during battle, sometimes you're actively switching between the different forms in the battle. And I haven't played a Metroid game very well in a long time. I tried to play the original Metroid on the Nintendo Classic the other day. I couldn't get to find the first missiles. I got the energy back. I couldn't get the first missiles. I felt like I was a failure of a human being. And then this, I feel better. I'm actually doing a lot better at this. So
Nice.
I definitely 2 thumbs up. It's about $40. So it's not 60. So
Now, are they
a little cheaper.
big maps, maze-like maps like Symphony of the Night, or
I'm not sure
more
how
linear?
if it's that level. I've been playing probably at this point maybe like 6 to 8 hours,
and how many of the beasts do you have?
and I'm at 25% with 3 of the beasts.
Okay.
With 3 of the forms, I guess I should say. I don't have my human form back yet. I don't
You
have
said 8
the
hours.
lion.
8 hours in for 25%.
Yeah, and I was going at a pretty good clip.
But that also depends what they consider on the percentages.
And
If
so
So
there's
that's
not as
revealing
you
the
have to
map.
find.
That's
Right.
revealing the map. I don't
Okay.
think that's getting all the treasures, and there are some really like advanced
So you can
things
backtrack
you can get.
and everything,
yes.
too.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, nice.
It's Metroidvania. It's
Okay.
you go all over a place, and there's areas you can't get to originally, and you can. And I think once I have all the forms open, they're really gonna be expecting a lot out of me and allowing me to really get.
I will be
all of
playing
it.
this.
$40 price tag is not a bad deal.
If you
for that.
get there's a limited starter set, and if you get that right now, it has a little game book in it and a couple stickers in the physical edition, which you can pick up, like I said, Best Buy, any store, Amazon, $40, definitely worth it.
Well, let's get into the news of the week because there is a lot of it. So
Yes.
let's start off
Yeah.
with the biggest, some of the biggest entities in
Yeah.
the video game world.
Oh, yeah.
EA and Activision. We're going to talk about EA first, and then we'll get to Activision in a little bit because a lot of stories have been breaking about Activision.
Yeah, and
so-
it's earnings season going on right now, and anytime you get earnings season, you get a lot of gaming news because these companies have to reveal a lot of stuff that they normally don't just tell us, the fans. And EA, not the best, and partly they were saying games were underperforming from what they expected. I think Battlefield 5 is from EA, and they did not like that. They said, it's because we put too much effort into a campaign and not enough Battle Royale. And their stock took a massive hit, but then they were bouncing back because of Apex Legends?
Apex Legends. Yep.
Yeah,
brand new.
and that's something we need to talk about here because that is on fire.
We'll talk about that, but I don't think EA can totally hinge on Battlefield 5. Don't get me wrong. Battlefield's a great game.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I typically always get it. It's a lot like Call of Duty. Like, I'll buy it, and then I know Battlefield will be coming out within a matter of 3 to 4 weeks, typically after a Call of Duty. Within that time frame, like, it's normal. It's
they moved it. They moved its original release date. They tried to avoid Call of Duty and Red Dead Redemption, and
which I can understand. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even remember Battlefield 5 came out.
I don't know when it came out exactly.
I realistically thought Battlefield 1 was the most recent, and I actually enjoyed Battlefield 1 considerably. I personally do not need a battle royale, and there's so many other games that do battle royale so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Why do I like Battlefield? Because it gives you that realistic. If you're a sniper, I don't think there's anything more satisfying than lining up that shot, right, Chad? Look at that smile on your face.
Sniper shots are great in any game.
There's a difference between that and Call of Duty. Like, there is I always say, if you switch back and forth between Call of Duty and Battlefield, you need a few warm-up games with that respective game because it is a different style, different feel. Okay. While Call of Duty, I feel like, is way more fast-paced. With Battlefield, you can be more strategic. You can be like, I'm going to plan it out this way, or I want to approach it one way.
But you also get a big difference that there are people that don't like, because Battlefield, it's more realistic military.
Quite, yeah. You'll have bullet drop, everything. Sure. Yeah, very much so.
So for me, I'm not a realistic FPSer. Give me Borderlands. Give me the sci-fi, or in rare cases, you might see a fantasy-based one. Those have been very rare, but more of the sci-fi ones. Give me a laser rifle or something like that. I don't want to be playing with traditional military weaponry. But the only exception I'll say to that has been the Far Cry games. But that's usually very different. It is militaristic, but it's not military.
Yeah, not at all.
So it's a different feel for that. I'm not a fan of the military FPSs.
Yeah, so, I mean, EA hinging it totally on Battlefield, while we could talk about how are those Star Wars games that we should be getting right now?
All canceled because they want to monetize it. They all.
Do you
want
see my face right now?
Man.
How seriously upset I am. I realize things happen in game development, but 6 years in, and we've had 2 Battlefront games. Which I bought the first Battlefront game. I don't need a campaign. I'm okay with that. Like, again, I'm just like Call of Duty. I play it for the multiplayer aspect of it. But I think they even botched that to begin with. It wasn't the greatest. And then we all know, and if you don't know, Battlefront 2
train wreck
was a train wreck from the word beta.
It was a buy to win. It was a pay to win.
Exactly.
It was so pay to win model.
And you know what? If you want to be the person who's like, but Steve, it's so much better now. That's great. But do you realize in today's day and age, if you do not start off fast from the gates, you don't get a second chance nowadays because how big's your backlog? How big's your backlog?
Oh, yeah.
It's insane. Like, I just picked up Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but that's been out for 3 months at least.
Since October.
Oh, okay. So it's been out for a while now. I'm just getting to that game. I just picked up UFC 3. It's been out for a while. There's a lot of games that are in my backlog right now that I'm trying to get back to. I'm definitely not gonna be going back to Battlefront. So EA, again, hinging on totally one thing is, I think, beyond it. And then them screwing up the whole Star Wars games, when you have 3 people right here who will pretty much buy just about anything with Star Wars on it, as long as it looks pretty darn good.
2.
Okay.
Well, I did 1 actually. I haven't bought a Star Wars game. I never bought the N64 one.
Because they haven't made any good Star Wars games.
They're supposedly working. I was going to say
I was actually going to bring that up to the fact that I really don't think they've ever truly made a really excellent Star Wars game. There have been some that have been good, but I don't think they've ever made a blockbuster Star Wars game. Okay, sorry.
Knights of the Old Republic for those that
No, but that's one where you may not forget because it's such a good, I think, RPG where you're like,
you're right.
You could have put Star Wars on there, but you could have made it any entity, and it was,
and that was BioWare at its absolute best.
Yes.
And they were those were. Okay, I will grant you that. Those were phenomenal games.
Yeah. Even number 2 was still pretty damn good.
I didn't finish them.
So, besides those 2, I always thought the Rogue Squadron games were pretty darn good for what they were. I didn't need RPG. I wanted to get into an X-Wing and fight TIE fighters.
Yeah.
Or, you know what, I want to get to the point where I got the Naboo fighter or the Millennium Falcon or the Slave One and go around and beat these simulations. That was just me. That was my first GameCube game. I guess maybe the nostalgic factor is kind of in on that. I would personally love to see a Uncharted style game with the Star Wars universe, which...
Well, you're never going to see it. They canceled that
Thank
one.
you very
They canceled
flippin'
that.
much. Yes,
I don't
you're
remember what
absolutely
studio. They closed the studio down completely. They bought them, had them work on it. They said, we don't know how to put microtransactions in this game, so we're going to shut you down.
And again, I think
Thanks, EA.
Yes. So you also have, I would imagine it probably didn't come cheap for the Star Wars licensing and everything for EA.
No, they probably paid a hefty penny for that.
I would imagine you want to say that Battlefield V or Battlefield 5 was the reason why? I'd say you've made a lot of dumb mistakes in the past year plus.
Pissing off your fan base.
Yeah, so if you want to continue doing that, you're going to continue to see losses. And I know that EA has all the sports, FIFA, Madden, and everything like that. I will also say, what if the NFL decides to not just solely use EA? Because I don't know if you guys do, and I don't know how big you guys are into sports, but like when 2K was making NFL games, that last one that they made, everybody always said like, Madden, you better watch out because this 2K football game is really good. 2K basketball, NBA 2K is really, really good if you're into basketball. Again, EA does basketball not so well. So again, you're going to have other companies coming after you. So if you want to keep using your tent poles, feel free. But you won't always have them, chances are. Even if you do, are you going to even have a company to make those tent poles if you keep making up these big screw-ups?
Well, Disney did report their earnings too, and on the call, someone asked them, I guess, are you happy with what EA is doing? They said, we're fine with it. But they said, kind of a thing of, well, we were having trouble when we were trying to make games ourselves, so, we're going to let the video game people make the, games. But people are now theorizing, hey, when this contract's open or over, does EA get it again? Does EA get the Star Wars license again? I'm betting Disney's like, no, you guys just sucked with this thing.
I hope
they're wasting it. How many? The number of games in the number of years, there could be a ton of games.
We have to remember, of course, when it comes to EA,
Shop
is
at
that
the multiple
they're a
studios
mega developer,
Spread
and they
it
have
out.
a lot of studios under them.
Yeah.
So it's a question of who they're handing off those games to, and are those the right choices?
True.
Well, and they have Jedi Outcast or something coming out, and they're working on it. People said it looks good. I haven't seen it.
I mean,
so I don't
honestly,
know.
EA, you have BioWare.
Yes.
They're not working on another Mass Effect game. That's on hold.
Aren't they still dealing
Use
with
the engine.
Anthem?
Throw out something new. Make another KOTOR. Please make another KOTOR. Use the Mass Effect engine, please.
Something for the people that don't want to do a battle royale. We're not all into first-person shooters and battle royales. Just out the yin yang, and there's too many of these now. We're getting way too many.
You
of
like
them.
your Fortnite from time to time.
I played Fortnite once in probably the last 5 or 6 months.
Once Smash came up, before that, you were playing it pretty hard.
No, I stopped actually before that because it was before that was Pokemon.
You're okay, but he's not wrong.
It did no.
Not wrong.
I played it for a season, but it lost its luster because it became too much of the same thing for me.
Yeah, and then you have to continuously
I want a little
play.
bit of story.
But I mean, that's neither here nor there. EA is screwing up big time, and that leads us to Activision.
Who's also screwing up big time.
Also, and I'm going to let Jeremy talk about this a little bit more.
Yeah, at least Activision, at least they let Bungie take, Destiny with them.
Again, not even a big Destiny fan, but I mean, if Bungie can revitalize anything, they could probably do it by themselves.
Sure.
Well, if you left it to Activision, it was going to become a cell phone game, probably. That's what they tend to do there. But supposedly there's a ton of layoffs coming this next week. Probably by the time I get this posted, it'll be maybe even happening. But they're supposedly moving a lot of stuff from the Blizzard side over to Activision, cutting down on publishing and a lot of other things. All I can say is these big monolithic companies that have bought up all these other companies, management doesn't know how to do this. I don't think they know how to control the gaming system and what is required and what people even want out of gaming. They just see the money, and if they don't see enough, they're shutting these things down, these ventures, and not taking any more chances. They're trying to follow the golden goose. Well, the golden goose is already there. No one's going to come over to you necessarily if somebody's already done it better than you. jumping back, Apex Legends, is that a better version of Fortnite? Time will tell. Or is it just newer? And the luster will wear off there.
I also think that it's a totally different game. And if you haven't played Apex Legends and everything, it is the new hotness right now.
It is cool looking.
It is a mixture of Overwatch and a Battle Royale game from what I understand. Again, I have personally not played it. I've only listened to the reviews, and even people who were skeptical are now coming out and saying, this is actually a really great game. And one person actually said something, and I can't remember their name, but they said they looked at the clock, it was 11 p.m. The next time they look at their clock, it was 3 in the morning.
I've been there.
Okay.
But that does
good.
not come around very
that's
often.
good.
I actually would love...
That sounds like a normal Friday night.
See, I would love for a game to draw me in like that. Right now, Assassin's Creed really is doing that for me. I'm not going to necessarily stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning, but I really would love a game where it's like, where did my life just go, or what year is it right now? Have I eaten lately? I have a dog I have to take care of. Like, where is she at? I would love for something like that. If that's that game, then I will probably try it out. But again, I think with these big companies, like Jeremy said, you're getting people who are real CEOs, which for companies to make money is great.
Yes,
but
sure.
the one,
and they need to.
And they need to. And I want them to make money. I want them to make money for the real good reasons, as in, this is a really good game, and here, it warrants the money. I never had an issue buying a Zelda game, Breath of the Wild.
Right.
Why? Because I knew it was a great game. Spending $60 on it was no problem whatsoever. I want the people who work that hard to get the money.
Sure.
I think everybody does. Like, I go to work to make money. Chad does the same thing. So does Jeremy. Like, that's the way the world
but Activision
works.
is paying the right person. They hired a new CFO and paying $15 million signing bonus, stock options, and BS. But whatever. Now they're laying off a ton of developers. They've probably been working pretty hard to try to meet these unrealistic goals that these top guys are setting. Every game is not going to make $10 billion. Every game's not. No. But that's what they all want. If they see one do it, they say everyone can do it. Right. No, not true.
And again, I think that eventually...
Support the smaller developers, because these big guys, in my opinion, they're destroying gaming.
I don't see... I think there's, how do I want to say, like a battle of escalation a little bit, right? Like, EA was really hot for a long time. They bought up all these companies, so just like Activision and everything. Bought up, I think eventually what's going to happen, just like Bungie, they are going to start to break away because they're going to be like, it's not worth the money we're getting versus what we need to do because they are giving us this money.
Right.
I really do think that's going to start happening. So they're either going to break apart and start to do it that way, or they're going to go out of business and eventually either a larger entity will do it, or they'll break away themselves.
Yep.
Or a lot like Telltale. They went out of business, and now all of a sudden their developers are now making another studio.
Oh, sure.
So it's not that EA, Activision are taking over. I think eventually what's going to happen is people will eventually break off. They'll make these smaller games, and then guess what? These smaller indie games, look at what the Switch is doing for indie games. It's making indie games not very indie anymore.
But this type of activity here is not the first time we've seen this in the industry.
Correct.
If you go back a ways, we saw cases like this in the past. Game companies like Origin bought a number of other game companies in the past, and then they went out of business, and then those companies split off to different things. We had game developers that were bought up by LucasArts, which made the adventure games, anything like, if you know what they refer to as the Scum VM games. Old point-and-click games. Those eventually sort of broke off, and those developers are actually now developing again for indie titles and things. So we're seeing those things. So this is a cycle, and we're seeing it sort of ramping up again. You wouldn't have known about it years back because the internet wasn't around, but if you played those games and you watched those things happen, this is not the first time we're seeing this.
No, we're just hearing more about it, just like Chad said, with the internet, with all of the social media capabilities. Just like everything in the world that's bad, it gets amplified. So
I just want Burnout again. EA destroyed Burnout. There hasn't been a real Burnout game since EA bought them. They destroyed it. They released Burnout Paradise as a remake. No.
Yeah.
Give me a new Burnout game. Or let the studio go and let them make one. But jeez, oh God, I used to love those games. I hate you, EA. I so hate EA.
Again, I think we're going to see something happen. We're going to move on before we get too sparked up. I know Jeremy's getting emotionally distraught right now, and we're going to need him for the rest of this.
Speaking of
podcast,
companies I hate, Sony versus Microsoft. You know, we were having a little debate before we started recording about, does Sony really win this generation, or did Microsoft flub it? And my opinion is E3, the year they started showing off their systems, Microsoft out of the gate fell flat dead. Because in Japan, it wasn't ever a contest. In America, you know, Microsoft did a little better, but look at the PlayStation 4. Look at Microsoft, who doesn't release numbers, but supposedly their number is somewhere in the 70 millions, maybe, or maybe not that high. 40 million.
You mean
40 million. So if that's the case, and the Switch could, you know, pass the Xbox One this year. Yeah, they fell flat on their face then.
And okay, so if you have looked at our older videos and everything, I have an Xbox. I would guess out of all three of us, I would be the biggest Xbox.
I think you're the only one that actually has an Xbox One.
Yes, I do. Okay, so when people actually talk to me, or when people who are Sony, you know, people they want to talk about this, I have no issue saying PS4 has definitely beat the Xbox Ones, but in certain regards, most regards, I won't even say certain, most. Xbox One X, I'm sorry, Sony, you're not going to beat it. That is the best console out there. It's proven. Everybody knows it in the industry. That's the one thing the Xbox One X has. Also, Xbox Live is a far superior.
Which again, if you've watched our previous ones, I will tout all day long. Even though I don't have an Xbox One, I will still tell you that hands down, Microsoft has their online architecture down pat. Nobody does it better than them.
Including Sony.
Everybody should be looking to copy them.
Yeah,
agreed.
Or just integrate it on your system.
Which, again, we will be talking about that shortly. When it comes down to it, the PS4 absolutely won. Why? Because, and Jeremy, we were just talking about it, did Xbox shoot themselves in the foot to begin with? And that is an absolute. Let's be honest, if you remember going back to that E3 where they said, you got to be online always, and you got to buy Kinect.
And you can't resell your physical copies. I'm pretty sure they were binding them.
They shot themselves in the foot.
They shot themselves in the foot. And I'm an Xbox fan. And at the time, Xbox 360 was king. If you were a PS3 fan, sorry, you lost. It is what it is. I have no issue saying the Xbox One has lost this generation. I invested money in it, right? Yeah. I always want something that we invest in to be good, right? That's, again, I want my money to go towards something that's worthwhile.
And to have good games. It's the reason that we have these systems. And it just hasn't had the titles.
It did not manifest. And I can see why PS4, and I don't have to go down the list, but Horizon Zero Dawn, you have God of War, you have Spider-Man.
Exclusives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like Nintendo, exclusives.
Exactly. Yeah. So, absolutely. Sony won this generation because Microsoft shot them in the foot, but Microsoft put their own nail in the coffin, like I said earlier, when they did not have the exclusives. Now, if you want to say, oh, but they have Sea of Thieves and they have State of Decay, and don't get me wrong, those are cool games.
Yeah. But they're not system sellers.
No, not by any means. And, you know, I played Sea of Thieves when it first started. I have not played it since they revamped it, and I want to say they actually scaled back on the amount of memory it actually takes because it was one of, apparently, again, don't quote us, apparently it was at the point where they could either keep increasing it and the file sizes were going to get bigger, or they could decrease it and then keep building from there, which I'm okay. Be vocal about why we're doing certain things, and if it benefits us, then great.
If you have consistent world MMO type quality, you're going to get that.
Very much so.
I think my World of Warcraft file on my computer is somewhere around 40 or 50 gigs at this point.
Jeez. Dude.
But I know, but where it started, which, again, Sony versus Microsoft, Sony has won this generation. I also do believe Microsoft is setting themselves up for the future, and I know if you've heard all our other videos, I personally had this opinion. I believe we've all kind of had this opinion, and they're setting themselves up. It doesn't mean they can't fumble, doesn't mean they're going to screw up.
But starting at the top. You notice new CEO and who do they put in charge of the Xbox division?
Phil Spencer.
Yeah.
New blood, new vision.
Yeah, and I mean,
and somebody that understands the industry, and that's the important part. That's where I don't think EA and Activision have that.
Is he not the cooler version of all three out of Sony? And then who's for Nintendo America?
Reggie.
Oh, Reggie. Reggie.
Reggie reminds me of like that cool dad who plays video games, but Phil reminds me of a guy who's going to show up on a Harley and he's going to pull out his Xbox or something cool like that. Like He's just that, and I like that. And we're going to talk about Nintendo and Microsoft getting in bed, and then we're going to go on from there. But again, Sony definitely won this generation, but Sony needs to watch where they're at. They can't rest on their laurels. Otherwise, they're going to have another PS3 debacle. And does anybody remember the PS3?
Yes,
all I remember is Red Racer.
I had a PS3. I think I had 3 or 4 titles for it, and that was it. But I had about 20-some titles for my Xbox 360.
So again, everything is cyclical, and I think that you do have to look at Sony versus Microsoft. Nintendo, like we were saying earlier upstairs, Nintendo's in a world of their own. They always have been, and they always probably will be. They're going to do their own thing, and they're going to run their own race, which, for all three of us, we have no issue with that. In fact, if Nintendo wants to keep pumping out their games, and like I said earlier, there's no Mario version on Xbox or PlayStation.
No, and you really... unless the gaming industry changes dramatically, we never will.
Never will. And you're not even going to... I mean, you might have similarities, but you're not... Zelda is Zelda. I mean, that's its own entity. And Super Smash, people have tried to do...
Oh, yeah. Sony tried. Sony tried bad.
All of them have tried. They have tried. There, how many games over the past decade have come out and they said, oh, this is the Zelda killer. This is going to be the new Zelda game. And none of them, not a single one, has ever been the Zelda killer. Yeah. There is no replacing Zelda.
I couldn't reiterate exactly what Chad said. So Nintendo is going to do what Nintendo wants to do, which I want them to. I don't want them to stop.
No.
Continue down the pipeline. And they have no issue calling themselves out when they make mistakes. Metroid Prime, they knew it wasn't up to our standards. And guess what? I'd rather them say, guys, this sucks.
Yes.
We're going to make it up to you guys eventually, but it's not up to our standards. Somebody who's being transparent in the gaming industry, awesome.
A rarity and beautiful thing to see.
And especially out of Nintendo. Of all places, Nintendo coming out. And I got to give that to the new president running the company.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
that's an about face from the past. Nintendo's always been very secretive, doesn't like to admit when they make missteps. You know, Virtual Boy they're like, what are you talking about, Virtual Boy? We don't remember the Virtual Boy, you know?
Or they said it was great when it came out. Yeah, what are you talking about? This is awesome.
Yeah, revisionist history, yeah.
But yeah, Sony versus Microsoft. Microsoft, I think, is setting themselves up for the future, and especially because if we are starting to go towards that streaming box that everybody... It's an underlying... I think, accepted theory that that's where it's moving.
I won't say accepted. I think it's something that probably more gamers are resigned to, something that's inevitably going to happen.
Yeah. Okay,
I think there's a lot of people that don't like it. I know I don't like the concept of it. Am I resigned to the fact that we're eventually not going to be given a choice? Yes.
Yeah. You won't own anything.
But I don't like the idea of it.
No. Right. But Xbox right now has the infrastructure, like Chad said. It's bar none. But... that also leads us to now, Xbox Live is going to be on the Switch. I think this is a big deal because if we go by what we just said, and granted, we're three guys doing a podcast, what we believe, we do a lot of research on this for you guys, so you guys totally have the best knowledge base possible. We do a lot of research. What I will say is Microsoft versus Sony. And like we said, if Nintendo's in a game of their own, a league of their own, Microsoft pairing up with Nintendo is what I think could possibly lead to a very big marriage between them. And again, I don't think that they're going to merge. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. No. You may never get Microsoft games on a Switch. But what I think is
with the exception of Minecraft.
Yes. But that does leave the possibility, it leaves the door open, which is a neat concept. I don't ever think I'm going to play Halo on a Switch. I don't need that by any means, because I think a Halo game should be played on a big screen with a powerful console.
Yes.
Nintendo Switch, it's a great console, but it's not as powerful as the Xbox, but we knew that. We know. I'm not going to be upset with that. That would be like being upset with a fish because it can't climb a tree. No, that doesn't make any sense. That's stupid, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense. So Microsoft pairing with Nintendo, it leaves Sony out in the cold a little bit.
But Sony's fine with that. Sony likes to play completely on their own and by their own. They don't want to share. They want the whole pie, all of the pie. They want your pie too.
Sony's the only one who hasn't, I think, adopted the build together new Minecraft patch. They won't allow it on their console because you have to sign into your Xbox account to access your.
They didn't want the Fortnite
Right.
compatibility, crossplay.
Rocket League, same thing.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and crossplay is a great thing that's come about in this generation. I don't think any previous generation we ever had this kind of crossplay.
No, but how often have gamers said, like, I should be able to play Call of Duty? And still to this day, if you have somebody who's on PlayStation and you have somebody who's on Xbox, you should be able to play with them.
Look, since the very first game that came out with
It's
multiplayer
territorial.
that was on multiple consoles, people have been saying this.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true. And I think Sony breeds that a little bit. And granted, Sony won. So if Sony, you want to talk all this smack, dude, credit to you. You guys
But next
killed it.
generation, this may hurt them if they don't finish
Of course.
opening the door. They are opening it, but as slowly as they possibly can. They do not want to do. They're doing it resistant. They're
You know what?
resisting the whole
They
way,
might be opening that
keeping
door,
the
but they got the
screen.
chain on. They're not.
Yeah.
They're
All
not
right.
opening it fully.
Yeah.
They're not
All right,
willing.
but
to.
They're not gonna.
But if the cycle goes with systems, like I've said before, Sony was on top this generation, which means in all likelihood, in some fashion or another, they're going to screw up, and they are not going to be on top next generation because their hubris is going to get the better of them, and they're going to screw something up. Because if you look at it through the console generations, whoever was on top for one generation was not on top the next generation because they got lazy.
Well, the ego takes hold. But
And I think Sony is how do I want to say that they're acting not like the heavy hitter that they should be. Them not going to E3 now, it could be strategic as they don't know what they want to say.
they don't have anything to show. They have no idea what to do.
Which is fine, but again, like the rock star that Phil Spencer said, and if you recently heard what he said, we could make it cheaper. No, we have no competition. We're like, who cares? But he's like, no, we're going to go bigger and better than we've ever gone before. Why? Because they, first and foremost, have nothing to lose. Sony's not there. It's their show. But Sony not doing that almost, it makes them seem like they're being reserved, like they're going on the defensive, and I don't necessarily know if that's the right move.
I think they're letting Microsoft swing first, and they want to see if because they did that. That's how they won the last one. They let Microsoft go out there, make a complete ass of themselves, and the next day they came out and said, "We're amazing." Oh
but
the
what
DRM thing? No, you can trade your games. You can let people borrow them.
Right.
You don't have to be online all the time.
But what
Everything.
if Microsoft doesn't screw it up? What if Microsoft comes out swinging and remains swinging the entire
But they
time?
they can still retort to it, and if they go first, Microsoft's going to use whatever Sony says and try to make them look worse. I think that's what it is. I think this is all strategy move.
I think it is strategy. I'm sorry to cut you off,
it's fine.
I wanted to get this far. I think it is strategy, but I don't know if it's the correct strategy that Sony should be playing right now. If you want to go on the defensive, fine, but I think that you need to. I keep thinking boxing in my brain. Like, they're going on a defensive when they just landed a haymaker where it's like, you staggered Microsoft to the point where Microsoft is now buying other studios to make sure that they're getting they're making sure they get the exclusives now.
They want to see what they bring.
If Microsoft gets the exclusives with the infrastructure that they have, and let's be honest, if it's a first-party Microsoft game, it's coming out on Game Pass the day of. If you have that, Sony isn't doing that. I don't know how that works in Microsoft, how they make money and monetize or anything like that, but that's exciting, especially for somebody who I am going to get the next Xbox, probably before I get the next PlayStation, but granted, again, Chad, what were you going to say before I cut you off? I apologize.
That's okay. I was going to say that this whole strategy will only work for Sony provided Microsoft doesn't load guns in their bullet to shoot them with.
Guns in the bullet?
Bullets in their guns. Hi!
It sounded really
I
good.
knew what I wanted to
I-
say.
And in my brain, it automatically corrected it for him. But Chad, I'm with you.
Anyhow,
Continue.
as long as
I'll be there.
as long as Microsoft does not load bullets in Sony's gun to go and then shoot them with, then it'll be fine. If they nail everything at E3 and they don't give Sony any ammunition, then this entire thing, if they are playing a defensive to come back and pull the rug out from under like they did with the last generation, it will backfire on them.
Yeah. We always, the first person out of the gate, if they do it correctly, they're the first ones, right?
Correct.
They're the first ones out there. Chances are Xbox would be the first one to market. Therefore, for systems out there, I think they could really set themselves. Again, that is 100% speculation. The PlayStation could come out.
First system to market doesn't always do it. In fact, PlayStation 3 came out before Xbox 360.
Yeah,
Correct.
but they had shot themselves in the foot with some of their comments.
Sure, of course they did.
Hey, people will pay $700 for a console with Rad Racer on it,
Right.
Ridge Racer, whatever the hell it's called.
Yep.
But yeah, speaking of people missteps and ignoring E3, how about Nintendo? How about Nintendo and
That's not a surprise, though.
And what are they going to... No, but at E3...
Here are some pictures that match.
All right.
Oh, well. Speaking of Nintendo, here we go.
Thank you. Nintendo pictures that match Nintendo. But what are we going to see out of Nintendo? Are we going to see a new online? And is that going to be the big E3 reveal? Because I don't know what Nintendo's going to show this year, but when are they going to fix the online, and how are they going to fix the online?
Well,
Just to
so
switch up.
we've already found some information that they're talking, and we've said it before in one of our previous videos, that they are looking at a second tier of their online service. Now, we don't have any details of what that's going to be. We don't know.
They might not even know.
And in all likelihood, not. But we do know that their online subscriptions have actually dropped since it's originally been introduced, which is not good. And again, I like some of the things of what Nintendo is doing, but they need to go and follow what the big dog is doing. You need to look at Microsoft and say, if we want the online architecture to be everything it can be and to draw people in, we've got to do what Microsoft is doing. We've got to have a strong voice chat system through all of our games. But I will say on this one, and we're going to segue at this point probably a little into this one.
No, I
just
think
because
this
this is a big
Yeah, they're
part
tied
of it.
together. They're tied together.
The voice chat system that was put in place by Fortnite, the developers for that have now released it into the wild. Essentially, anyone can use it.
Yep.
And this is huge because this voice chat system, is fantastic. And now it can be integrated into any game. So, on some level, Nintendo may not have to necessarily worry about building their own voice chat system if all these games start coming out are going to start implementing this.
It's voice and text. And
Yeah.
so I would love it. I know I've played some games like Nine Parchments and stuff, and these games are requires coordination. And coordinating is almost impossible when you cannot talk to a person.
True.
It's great when you have little ad-libs inside the game. You can say little pre-packaged things, but I want to be able to tell them, come over this way, and I can't say that very easily.
On a game like Nine Parchments, it's hard enough when you have 4 people in the room, let alone across the country.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good couch co-op, but online with people you don't know,
It's
not
brutal.
talking, oh my gosh.
I think we can all see why Nintendo's online, and again, the games they're bringing out, they're not world beaters. Like,
they're not.
They're fun to play, maybe, but with how many...
Are you talking the bonus of the classic?
Yeah,
console
I
kind
guess
of thing?
even, and I think we've talked about this way back when we were talking about the indies that are coming out. They're better at making those 80s and 90s styles games better than the 80s and 90s. Though I play those games because they remind me of that era.
Yeah, it's a nostalgia trip.
Exactly.
But that's supposed to be a bonus on top of the fact you're getting to play online with your friends and use their phone app.
See, to me that's not. If I have to equip my phone and everything, why don't I just use my phone and call and text? Like it doesn't.
Yeah.
But let's also look at the games that Nintendo has for their online architecture.
Yeah.
At their core games, most of those games are small instances of play. You've got Mario Kart, where you're going to have a single race.
Yep.
You're going to have Splatoon, where it's going to be a battle. Now, you may stay with the same team and go into another battle, but it's still a small...
Mario Kart can be a whole cup, I think, online.
True, but there's still small individual maps.
Absolutely.
And again, people can drop out.
Yeah.
We don't have anything like an MMO, like Destiny.
Correct.
Where you've got people that are online playing together for hours and hours and hours of time together in a span. You don't have anything like that for Nintendo. We don't have anything like Sea of Thieves on Xbox.
True.
We don't have games that require that massive, persistent server base to host an insane number of people in a massive world. Now, would I love to see those games on the Switch? Yeah, of course I'd love to see a game like that on the Switch. Are we ever going to see something like that on the Switch? I'm not sure that we are.
Pokemon 2019 MMO.
Look, that would be great. People have been talking about Pokemon MMO. There have been indie developers that have created things along that lines that have gotten shut down by Nintendo. Seriously, Nintendo, hire them.
Yeah, put it online. I'm telling you, Pokemon 2019.
But you can do stuff like that. But
Do it.
Nintendo doesn't have the architecture in place to pull those sorts of things off. They don't necessarily have to. If their games are going to be these smaller instances of play, that's fine. But you're never going to draw in those same people for those big MMO crowds. You're never going to see Red Dead Redemption 2 online on the Switch. They don't have the architecture to pull that off.
And I don't think the console has the ability to do that.
No, but I get what it was for
Yeah, I
example and
Well,
everything.
people always brought up GTA 5. You know, why not bring Grand Theft Auto 5 to the Switch? You know, could they have? They still could one day. I mean, that game is
It's
still
an older game at this
hot.
point. It might actually be able to run on it.
Right, but it's still a hot game. It's still
Of course.
people play it online. You know.
I mean, it ran on 360 and the PI and PS3.
But I don't think Nintendo wants to bring that in. That doesn't follow with their image for the
Oh no
most
no
part.
no no! The image thing has been gone for a while. I mean, trust me.
Yes and no.
Look through the eShop. The things they've done lately, and we can talk about this in a future video. Sony has kind of actually done more censoring lately than Nintendo on their games, and that's pretty big in the eShop when they're starting to censor their third parties. Whereas Nintendo's just like, sure, show the girl in her panties, whatever.
I mean, I think that when Nintendo went with the Wii, again, we all knew this. They went family friendly, which is cool, great. I also think it's fun to be able to play again. I know I've talked about this. It wasn't the greatest iteration, but like I played Wolfenstein on Nintendo.
Sure.
I literally was chopping heads off of Nazis on
Yes.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like, guys, that wasn't happening with the Wii and everything
Right.
like that.
That wasn't happening with the Super NES back in the day. They censored the blood out of Mortal Kombat.
Exactly. I mean,
Pretty
there's a
blood.
lot of instances where Nintendo in the past has gone very,
Yeah.
very strict with it, but now I think they're opening it up because, just like, and then this is a little bit of a tangent. We're not going to go off on it, but Disney now is still going to make R-rated movies because there's money involved. There
Yes.
is an audience,
Yep.
and is it as big as the kid audience? No.
But if you don't get it, somebody else will.
But that's
And the
where,
whole thing.
okay, for instance,
Right.
you have a son. Chad
Yep.
and I do not have kids.
Right.
We are still we'll probably still go see, the Disney Pixar movies like we said,
Yes.
chances are, but we're also going to see the rated R movies and
Sure.
everything like that. I
He
think,
will too. He's just got to get a sitter first.
right, but that's
Or they
where I'm
will
at.
buy
I think Nintendo is opening the door for more money.
Sure.
And in the grand scheme of things, I think that's the right way. But
My God, they do learn.
they do, except with, I have, and I'll be honest, I don't have online, Nintendo Online. I did.
I don't. I haven't.
I have personally no reason to buy another online service because I don't.
Even at $3 a month, it's like $2.50 a month. And-
I
yeah.
realize it's inexpensive, but why?
No, but that's the thing that's nice is $2.50. If there is a game that comes out, you jump on, play it for a month or two, and then you're off. And what Nintendo's hit, what they talked about in their investor meeting was the people that are subscribing are doing short subscriptions. I just did a full year family one, but
It
most
makes-
people
it
are
makes
just
sense,
going on
yeah.
playing for a month or two. Hey, I got a game I'm going to be playing offline. Cut my subscription. Nintendo wants that 1 year. They want
course they
that
do.
you continuously on there. They don't want to sell the small packages. It's like Netflix. They don't want you to come on for a month. They want you to come on for a year. You know?
Chad would love to have it online. I would love to have it online. Give us a reason to throw it online.
Yeah, very much.
I am waiting for one of those. I'm waiting for a classic game where I'm like, okay, finally, I'm biting the bullet. I need this game. This is what, and I need the online subscription for.
Fix
I'm
Smash
waiting
Brothers
for that.
online.
Now, if they bring out Pokemon and you can't even do online trading without the online subscription, they'll get a ton of people that will sign up at that point.
Very much. So.
I don't know if the current one, if you can. Let's go. I don't know if you can trade. I know you can trade online.
So
but
I
don't
know
if it's
the Game Boy ones, the Game Boy versions, you just have to connect to Wi-Fi,
Oh.
and then they have a sort of server database, whatever, that you
Oh.
can handle for all the trading.
This is a little different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you put in like a 3-character code, and somebody else puts in that same 3-character code, and you can battle. And I think you can
Okay.
trade maybe. No, trading's not random though. Trading's more
Right.
like a.
So in the old school
think we
Game
have
Boy
that
games,
online.
they actually had essentially almost like a marketplace. You would go on and post a Pokemon, and you would say, "This is the Pokemon I'm posting. This is the Pokemon I want." Someone could go up there and say, "Hey, this is the Pokemon I'm looking for," and then they could say, "Oh, that person wants this Pokemon. I don't want to trade that one. Who else is offering it? And what do they want?" So if Nintendo put a system like that in place on the new ones, and they said you have to have the subscription for it, you're gonna have a lot of people signing up for it just for Pokemon at that point.
Yep.
But that's
You-
also kind of a jerk move since that's been free on the previous games.
Well, you do need it for the current Let's Go game.
Okay.
If you want trade or battle anyone online, you do need Nintendo Online.
Okay, so then that's probably what they're going to wind up doing on the new Pokemon Core game.
I'll betcha.
Well, to rehash, more or less, EA and Activision, quit being stupid and listen to what gamers really want. You will still make your money.
And on a side note on that, Disney, next time you shop out the license for Star Wars, don't just go to one house, shop it to multiple houses, because these big companies don't know what to do with the license.
You'll be well worth it.
Get more creative solutions and more creative games, I think.
Sony has definitely won
Yep.
this console race, but the next one, again, I'm excited for Microsoft. I know you guys are too
We'll
as
have to
well.
have an E3 wrap up.
Oh, well-
right after E3, talk
Yep.
about what do we see and
Yep.
what does Microsoft bringing to the table.
Very
For
much
me,
so.
as always, it's going to depend upon the games. If they don't have the games, the system won't be on my
Yep.
my console.
Which I don't disagree. Nintendo Online has a lot of bugs, a lot of issues.
A lot
They
of
need to
work
get
to
it
do.
figured out, a lot of work to do. But the good thing is, now that Nintendo is not, they're obviously not squashing this voice chat thing. I don't have to have my cell phone rigged up to a wire, connected to my Switch, then connected to this,
Except for the first party games.
except for the first party games. But in all reality, this looks like it's going to kind of take it. So there's a lot of good things going on in the industry, but there is a lot of stuff that makes you kind of worry, and not necessarily worry, but be a little bit cautious about certain entities. and
It's a
everything
mixed
out there.
bag.
Yeah.
But it's like normal. It is news. We wanted to throw it at you. I thought this was actually a great opportunity because so much was going on.
Oh, yeah.
But that's Don't Quote Us. My name's Steve.
Jeremy,
And Chad. And as always, please like and subscribe.
and don't quote us.
Bye.